Okay, so it looks like Xcode 16.2 just released. I just saw this. I was just trying to Google macOS release notes for the upcoming software update, and I saw this was the only thing that matched when I did a Google search. So this just launched on December 11th. So it was 2 days ago. And it requires macOS 14.5, which is actually surprising. I feel like 15. So you need the latest version of Sonoma because we're on. Hey, what's up? This is Paul Solt from Super Easy Apps. This is a first look of Xcode. Now, I show off how to use the new Swift test commands, but we have some issues. So there's going to be a link down below if you want to jump ahead and get to see the tool in action so that you can sort of see it on the command line as well as in Xcode. I ran into a problem because I had done some embedded Swift programming with ESP32. So that's with these little chips. I have a nightly toolchain installed, and I had a toolchains variable that's set in my development environment that was conflicting with the current released version of Swift. So right now, as of December 2024, 6.0 Swift is out. But the development toolchain or the nightly toolchain is going to be 6.1. So if you see an issue where Xcode cannot build, it's probably because you have a toolchains variable set, and that seems to override the Xcode select mechanism as well as the Xcode selection mechanism in the system preferences or preferences. It's now called settings in Xcode. So keep that in mind. You can skip ahead. You don't have to watch the whole exploration. I did cut some of it out because it was a little much. But thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you learned something about Xcode or the terminal working with the new Swift test. I do talk briefly through some of the Xcode release notes. I don't know everything that it's doing, but the Swift testing was the most important thing for me to dig into and to test out. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video. But enjoy this one. We're on Sequoia, which is 15, right? Not 16. So I'm trying to keep track of all these numbers. So you need the latest version of Sonoma or later in order to run Xcode 16.2. Apple tends to always be pushing this number up. So we can see that they push the number up to 14 back in Xcode 15. So here it was 13, and then they bumped it in 5.3. So I'm expecting probably they'll require you to upgrade to Sonoma in the next update. This is probably just another bug fix update. If we go into our release notes, did I start the download? Let's start the download. So I always download Xcode separately. You can see down here, I rename it and I put it in my dock so that I can have multiple Xcodes installed. If we go to my applications folder and we scroll all the way down, you'll see that I have Xcode from the App Store, the old version of Xcode. Sometimes I need to support old apps. Unfortunately, some of those old versions aren't working anymore. That's where this Xcode releases is super useful. Looks like I got to sign in to download this. So this website's super useful for just getting access to all the release notes in one place. Apple doesn't really have a site like this. They do and they don't. Xcode developer. So if we go to Apple's website, it's not as clear. So if I go to download and then betas, it then takes me to the more downloads page, and then it's all Xcode, but there's a lot more than Xcode, as you can see here. There's all of these additional command line tools, simulators, and it's really like, is that filtering Xcode? I would say no. So you actually have to click on applications, and now we see Xcode 16.2, Xcode 16.1. That's interesting. Is it not on the App Store yet? This one's the only one that's got to be on the App Store. Let's click it. Where do I see the version? 16.2, 1 day ago. So Maybe it goes in the App Store like a day later. So it looks like you can get it from the other place sooner. It looks like it did update. So I already have it installed, apparently. But I'm still going to install it side by side because it is beneficial to have multiple copies of Xcode because you don't know if it's going to break something. So that's why I have 16, 16.1 and the old 15. But now I can't use this because at some point they sort of started deprecating old versions of Xcode, probably due to security issues. It would be bad if one of the old versions of Xcode got compromised. And if that happens, there could be malicious apps that are compiled to run on Macs. So I see the point. This is the one other place to get it, but you can't go as far back. So if you want to go back further and find a version of Xcode that you can still run. So I think 15.3 is supported. 15.2 is not supported. So if I wanted to run 15.3, I could download this one. And since this other one's no longer supported, 15.0 is not supported, I'm just going to go into my downloads, find Xcode. What is that saying? I do have, Interesting. Maybe you can't use 15 at all. I don't know if this is up to date. Or maybe it's because I've updated Sequoia. Maybe the initial version of Sequoia, it worked, and now it doesn't. So I'm just going to delete that. And 15.1, I'm going to delete. I don't need 16.0. This one was super buggy, so I'll just clean that up. So this gives me at least the previous version, and then I have the latest version that I can install. So let's take a look at the release notes and see what that's all about. Command line tools package now supports using Swift test command to build and run new tests with Swift testing. That's cool. I've used this before. What is the package command? Swift package init. So I have a video on this, but I don't remember everything off the top of my head. So we want to create a library, and this is the other setting that we're going to need. Okay, so let's try this out. So Swift package init, type library, enable Swift testing. Let's bring this over to the center or the side. Enable Swift testing. Name my tests. Tests. Let's see if we can spell. I think that's all we need to do. So if we do this command, it'll create our first Swift package, and then let's open package.swift. This is going to open up Xcode, my current version, which is 16.1. And now we can see the test. Now, sometimes I will say, let's minimize this. Sometimes this fails to open. If that's the case, just close it. I probably should open a bug report and just try it again from the command line, and it should open. And then what is this? Okay, so it's probably complaining that I don't have Xcode installed. So let me show you what I do to have side-by-side installs of Xcode. So we're going to do 16.2, enter, and then we're going to drag this to our applications folder. And we can clean up that. And then in our applications folder, we should now have Xcode. So I'm going to have two versions of Xcode that one has the latest stuff. This was total trash, so I'm not going to even bother turning it on. Predictive code completion model was useless. It's very distracting. I'm not going to bother with it. Now it's going to want me to quit this. So let's just quit Xcode. And I'm going to enter my password. So let's just try and see if it will do the test. It's probably going to look for XCTest unless somehow, oh, it seemed to have worked. I wonder what version it's running. Oh. Is this the developer or is this the toolchain? I do have some toolchains installed, so I don't know which ones it's getting. All right, so code assistance, I don't think it's worthwhile. Swift 6, I think this is potentially a net positive in testing with Swift testing. We've seen this before. Previews now share the build process, which is super helpful. I don't know what this means. Let's take a screenshot of this, and then let's go to the complete. What was that? Add dynamic properties for more interactive previews. Add dynamic. Preview. All right, so this says iterate designs quickly with the improved SwiftUI preview, leverage new preview APIs for declaring state and reusing data across previews. Is that what that's talking about? I still don't know what that means. What is this? Okay, search is unhelpful. Does this mean from Xcode 16.2 release? So this is how I use ChatGPT. Nope. Let's paste the full thing. And then debugging. There's probably something I have to watch. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, so this gives us an idea. C designs more rapidly. So this is where they've refined the build to reuse. You get faster preview updates. So before it had to recompile when you ran the app and it had to recompile when you did a preview. And in a large project, it was super frustrating because it would rebuild everything. There's not a whole lot there. I don't think it's really looking at the WWDC stuff. I'm not sure how to do this mock stuff, so I might have to look at that. That looks like a new feature that I'm not fully aware of. And then add dynamic properties for more interactive previews. So I mean, it sort of felt like it worked in the past, but maybe it does more things now and feels like it's actually running. That is what I have noticed. But what is possible and what's not possible has always been a little bit blurry for Swift UI previews, in my opinion. So it's not actually telling me this is. Oh boy. Okay, so ChatGPT did not help me here. Let's try Claude. So that must be what it's talking about, is that you can have variables and stuff. And so like if we were to open up Xcode, let's drag it over here next to my other Xcode. If this one's stable, I'll get rid of this other icon. But last time 16.0 crashed a ton, so I'm not going to trust it right away. So let's hit continue and let's go back to our test project. And while we're at it, let's go to our Swift weather demo and see if this still compiles. I believe I have a preview here. So I have a preview. I've got some state properties, but they're all defined within the view itself right now because this is a prototype. So this is for a new course that I'm doing on Swift UI development, learning how to make iOS apps, and we'll see if this builds. It's got to install the new simulator, I think. So this first run is going to take a little bit of time. So let's fetch the weather for Rochester, New York, and there we go. We've got the JSON data downloading from the web server. We can look at it in Fahrenheit or in Celsius, so we can sort of flip between those. You can change it to look at latitude and longitude as well, and it will do the same request and download that data. So that is a preview running. It's doing networking calls. It feels very much like it is an app, and so maybe that's what they're getting at. It's been a little bit blurry on what's possible in the previous one. I think you could have print statements and stuff like that. So that's an example of that. So let's jump back to, we're looking at my tests, and we had run it, but it wouldn't build here. Cannot build without schemes. This is a bug. What do you mean you can't build? Okay, so let's. Whoa, I can't even close it. Okay, let's just go to Xcode. Let's just make sure we are setting our build target. So I'm going to choose mine. So this is the App Store version, but that's going to change as it gets updated. I want to have a static build, and I'm going to install these build tools if I can type my password right. Okay, so that's going to set my Xcode target on terminal. What did I just do? Oh, iTerm. Okay. Which one is this? This is iTerm. Apparently I'm working with terminal. I thought I was an iTerm. Is that any different? Will this not show me which one it's chosen? I guess not. Okay. But I think we can just write Swift test. And now it's going to run our unit test for that project. So let's minimize this. And we will open up my tests again. Normally on a thing like this, I would have some. Let's open up the package. What's going on here? There should be a library. It should be targets. Swift Tools version 6. Is that the latest? I think so. .1 dev. We don't see any of the targets though. It's acting really buggy. Let's see if opening. So I'm trying to figure out like what's going on here. Just typically how I dig into things. We could try a different tool chain. So if I switch this to be, let's go for the App Store version. Maybe my underscores are causing a problem. What's this? Is that just warning me that it's not the current version that I'm in? So let's quit that. We're going to click on, oh, that's not the old one. We don't want that one. The App Store version is going to be this one. Let's just drag this over so I have all three. So we'll click this one. Allow. Okay, so we double click here. Still failing to load. Maybe I have to reboot. Reset package cache. It should help fix something like this, but it's not working. All right, so we're going to try a reboot and see if that helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just restarted. I'm still having the same issue. I can see that my Swift toolchain is 6.1.dev. We can see it. These are exactly the same, even though I just selected this other one. Let's try and go to 16.1 and see if that's any different. And now we'll print the version. Still saying 6.1. Is it the same build toolchain? So let's go back to Xcode releases. This is where like this is confusing because this is says it's is this. Hold on. This could be from my embedded Swift stuff. I think it is. So that's my problem. Since I created this with embedded Swift, it should be 6.1. So if you're working with embedded Swift, there's the Swift tool chains. We go here, install Swift, Mac OS. Oh, did they change this? What is this? What? It's totally different than it was. But it says 6.1, so I don't understand this. What is 6.1 versus the other Swift version we're seeing? Like, how are those two numbers related? Regardless, I think our simple fix is just to change this to 6.0. See if anyone has anything on this. I don't even understand what this person's talking about. Okay, so this is the issue I'm running into. So you will not have this issue unless you've been doing ESP32, which is doing the embedded microcontrollers. So that's this little guy. Oh, did I break something? Oh, there's a little thing there. I didn't know there was something in there. What is that connected to? Okay, apparently there's a jumper. I don't know if that came off of something. But I've been doing embedded Swift on these little microcontrollers. And I've got a development tool chain installed, which is what we're seeing when I echoed the tool change, which I think is causing it to use a pre-release. So this person's saying, so am I on the nightly? Like, that's what I'm a little confused about. So if I just trash that, so if I set this to nothing, so just say tool chains equals, can I do that? No. Export tool chains. Let's open my ZSH. Can I do this? So then echo tool chains. And then if we do Swift-version. Okay. So my problem was I was doing ESP development. Okay, so this is what we had to do. And what did that look like? That looked like export tool change equals. Let's just confirm. So rm-rf, you gotta be careful with this. We're gonna just remove everything here. Xcode, is that even open to it? It's gonna complain. And then let's go ahead and try this one more time. So I think my solution worked. I just needed to change that. I was confused that it was saying, I wasn't sure which version was the latest. So now we should be able to build. We should be able to run those unit tests. Why can't it run that? Because my device is selected, so I'd have to switch this over to... Why is there no iPhone? Okay. iPhone 16. Which one do I want? This one? 18.1, is that the latest? So it's going to spin up at 18.1. All right. All this to just see how Swift test works on the command line. So hopefully it's a lot easier for you to get started. If you learned something, hit the like button. The Swift package init, where you can create a library, enable Swift testing. And then if we just take a look at that in Xcode, you will see we have one test and no logic. So if we go this, we run our test here. We can also run our test here. We'll see that we get a failure on both sides. So you can sort of see what Xcode versus it's going to look like over here. And then to fix that, we just do this, run our unit test with Command U, and we'll see that passes, and we'll see that passes over here. All right, so that was a huge deep dive into this. I'll grab this link in case you want to read more about that. But this is from doing embedded Swift. I have a bunch of videos on YouTube about it, so you can check those out. And we still didn't get very far in the release notes. So that was the Swift test command. You can now run package tests with Swift test, which is super cool. Parallel tests, known issues. So it looks like predictive code completion got some more help. So improvements to predictive code completion. Maybe I'll try it again. I wasn't happy with it. So what happened in preview? Preview should now work fine with permission errors from derived data. What else in here looks interesting? So previews that had trouble finding resources, created very large binaries, was fixed. Certain preview crashes were fixed. Okay. Similar fixes, known issues. Something about there's a 3 to 5 minute wait due to gatekeeper. I don't know what that is. Hopefully that doesn't affect you. They fixed some issues with C++ and Swift interoperability not being deployable to operating systems earlier than iOS 16. That's cool. Apparently, this is a known issue. Memory leaks can occur from calling async functions bridge from Objective-C and building in the Swift 6 language model. There's a workaround. So there's a different issue. It's either resolved or it's not resolved. I'm not sure. And then this fixed an issue where LLDB couldn't attach the Swift testing host binary. So I think that's related to what we're seeing here. So that's Xcode 16. Hopefully it's more stable. Hopefully you don't have too many issues with it. But that's how you do it on the command line. It's super nice on the command line to just like create a new project. I have 3 videos on this. There's different types. So with Swift package, init, help. Yeah, we got to spell help right. Library executable tool. Like if you just want to do a Swift argument parser that takes command line arguments, that's super nice for doing a command line tool. You could create a macro, you can create an empty one, and it just gets you going. So with library, it's just creating the structure. So it's just getting you the basics. So if we just take a look at that, where do I have it open? It creates, your package is just a single file, which is right here, and it's defining a product library, and it's got a main target, and then it's got a test target. And so the library is going to build this code that is in this folder. So if you add a new test file, more things, it will paste that in. We can have another function here. And so we can create more things and more code that all gets bundled up. And then you can run your tests with Swift tests just from the command line and pass those. So that's cool. That's Xcode 16.2. It's now available with some improvements. You can read the full release notes and sort of go over them. I just kind of high level looked at them. 16.1 is definitely better than 16.0, which was crashing all the time in previews. So hope this helps. Hit the like button if you learned something. I think it's pretty cool to work on the command line with Xcode packages. It makes it easier to create like throwaway projects just from the command line. You could even have an alias that just did it for you if you figure out kind of how you want to do it, or you can just type it out. Enabling Swift testing is cool, so that's a new feature. And writing Swift tests are nice because they're easier to read, and they're easier to read when they're wrong. So when you run them in Xcode, you get better insights. Do something was supposed to give 3, and we're testing, or gives us 3, and we're getting 33. So it's a lot more descriptive than in the past. So try it out. Let me know how it goes. And if you have any questions about Xcode 16.2, comment down below, and I will see you in another video. Thanks for watching.